Ford Killinger, Bombshell JKU. We are here wrapping up the 2023 King of the Hammers race. We've started this race, we've been out here all week, and we're wrapping it up. A little bit of fun with our friends and family with Mickey Thompson, Yukon Gear and Axle, and a few other racers. We're here to recap this week, give you a little insight as to what happens when we start chasing cars, as well as the race itself. So with me is Mitch, famous Mitch. Mitch was here on Sunday afternoon, so he beat us all here, got camp set up for us.
Yeah, I rolled in Sunday early afternoon. Nice, smooth, easy 22-hour drive. This is my second year out to KOH. Last year was just an incredible experience. It's like no other event I've ever been to. We get to go in to film in areas that most spectators don't get to. So that is such a blast to come out here and do.
It's a unique experience for those that have not been to the Hammers before, King of the Hammers, or even just come out here to visit. It's polar opposites of each other. You know, if you show up here in about a week, this place is going to be empty. And if you show up here, you know, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, when the population is growing, it quickly turns into you and 65,000 of your closest unknown friends.
It is dirty, dusty. You want to be prepared for that. You want to know that. It's in your throat, it's in your eyes. But at the same time, it's the most fun that I have anywhere for a week at a time.
You know, qualifying this year was a little bit different. Rather than the track that's here to the west of us, northwest of us, where we're physically sitting, it was actually cruising through Chocolate Thunder. It's a very unique trail, very challenging trail, and it actually looped up and behind and then came down idle issues. Now, again, like I said, it's a challenging trail in itself. It definitely took its toll on the drivers. Side-by-sides seemed to do a lot better than the 4400 class this year. There were a lot of struggles, and you know, it's just a unique area of the course itself.
I was really happy to be back in the rocks because we excel in the rocks, and so it was really nice to be in a section where we can actually get in the top 30 again, you know, rather than being an 85th or something like that. And then we got to pass a bunch of cars to get to the rocks, so really happy about that. The desert loop's going to be a little bit easier than last year. There's not really a lot of rocks in the desert loop, so you know, we may lose a few positions, but I'm confident we're going to be one of the top cars into the rocks, and we'll be busting through there quick. So you know, we got a new sponsor this year with Mickey Thompson tires, and they're doing awesome in the rocks. We've run all the rock trails, we've hit everything, we hit the desert loop. We are ready to go for tomorrow. We're sitting in 30th place and ready to get off the line.
Generally during qualifying, there's not as much rock involvement. This year, qualifying being out on Chocolate Thunder, it added that element to it. Personally for myself on Chocolate Thunder, last year, my first year being out here, I chose to run that trail at night. 10 out of 10 would not recommend that. You should probably see it in daylight before you run that. We did end up upside down. No harm, no foul. We got flipped back over and went on with our evening. But Chocolate Thunder is a unique and challenging trail out here.
we had a great qualifying run. It was very exciting. We ended up 9th in class and 48th overall, 4,500 class. So we were really careful in the qualifying. We made sure that we had a plan, that we weren't going to really beat on the car, that we weren't just going to keep thrashing against a rock. And so luckily on Chocolate Thunder, we got the run we needed. We got up quickly, and then we protected the car back on the way down the hills through idle issues. So once we got down into the sand, we knew we had a car underneath us that wasn't going to require a lot of work. So we are looking forward to getting ahead of everybody in the dust for tomorrow morning.
Yeah, qualifying went pretty good. We had a solid run. Our goal was to kind of be in that front third, 20 to 35th. I think we ended up right around 30th, so it puts us in a really good spot. Gives us some time to spread out in the desert, and then when the real race starts in the rocks, we'll be ready to go.
So our qualifying went really well. I would say, if you can check the boxes of not braking, not rolling, and making the entire course, I don't care what time you got, I would say you had a good run, So we again checked all those boxes. I would say we had a good run, and we're starting 15th on Saturday.
So, one of the most recent builds coming out of Rockstar Performance Garage is Rock Buggy. This is a Volkswagen Bug married to a JKU frame, outboarded suspension, and massive, massive rear steer, dual steer axles.
Yeah, up in Turkey Claw, it is technical. You can pick your way through it, but at the same time, there is the definite chance that you can get hung up. Some of the boulders in there are extremely large. Getting caught up on something, as I saw when we went up there and ran through there at night, we sat down at the bottom of Turkey Claw for 20-25 minutes. A couple others just could not get their way figured out to get through it. Finally got a couple winched out, got out of the way, and kind of got the trail moving again. But there's definitely the chance to get caught up there on some of those larger boulders and have an issue.
This is an impeccable build. Turkey Claw, it's not the easiest trail out there. It's not the most challenging trail out there. And running the lower half of that, it's still a very, very technical trail. Towards the end of that trail, there is a pretty impressive wall on the left-hand side, and You know, anybody that knows Nick, he's going to put tires on a wall. He's going to put his driving skills to the challenge. He's going to put the vehicle skills to the challenge as well. And you know, in this case, he got a little greedy and got a little stuck.
What are you doing? How do I look? Not good.
Because you're like, to the moon!
Get in! We're preparing for takeoff!
It'll bite. Turn the rear a little that way. Good. He's gonna get dangerous with this thing.
So EMC's our Thursday race. Obviously racers have gone through qualification at that point. They've been through their tech inspections. They're prepped and ready and they're lining up. Typical departures at 8 a.m.
We were able to hit rock trails for the qualifier. I was like, yeah, we're in. We did a good qualifying. We started off 30th, and I was super happy with that. When we took off first lap, you know, Johnny Brooks was side by side with me in here, and you know, I knew we were going to have a good lap.
I was actually a lot more calm than I thought I was gonna be. I was nervous, more the anticipation, and then I was like, I've driven this thing before, you know? Like, so I got used to, you know, it was good. I wasn't crazy nervous.
Race started out really well. We were 96th off the line, and going through the desert loop. We did really clean desert loop. stopped at pit 1 for fuel even. We still came in, I think 12th back into the start finish line after the desert loop. So we picked off, 70, 80 cars in the desert loop.
Then this year we did haul out to outer limits. That's a pretty good haul. Most of it just some desert running for the most part, but you've got to move at a pretty good clip to get out there ahead of the cars. And just for me personally, that's a lot of fun. Just running across the desert, point A to point B, getting to a spot, that's a really good time. And thankfully we've got the GPS, it shows the course, it shows our location, and we can cross and get into areas like that safely. After we got set up at outer limits, the first car that we had come through was Jeremy Jones. He made it in a little ways and then he did get stuck.
Especially after the last 2 years, losing reverse after we get into the rocks. We got into that first rock trail and we went to hit reverse, and we both looked at each other. We're kind of like, dude, we still have reverse. That's super cool. It was a good day. It was a really good day. It was fun.
His co-driver got out, they were getting rigging set up to get him pulled out, and he was, while they were trying to get out of their spot, they were passed by 3 cars. But they did get themselves winched out and continued on in pretty good shape afterwards.
you need to, I mean, you can make a few mistakes, but you can't make too many. You got to be very mindful of your car and your tires out there, because that course was so just treacherous. I mean, it was a tire eating machine. So that was our mindset going in. We're going to run our race and our pace, and we're going to preserve tires in the car, and that's what we ended up doing.
After outer limits, we passed pit 1, and it turns out our pit crew hadn't even got there yet. They should have been, sorry, pit 2. They should have been there, but they weren't. And, you know, like, I didn't know that, but they were calling me on the radio, and I said, hey, I'm a mile out from pit 2. We don't need anything. And they didn't say anything to me, you know? So they're like, good to go. Have a good race. You know, they weren't even there yet because I guess we had a car breakdown at main pit and stuff, you know, so they didn't tell me that until afterwards, which is awesome.
I would say that my car is more set up for rocks. So the sway bar is super loose. So when you're trying to haul butt through the desert, it's got a good amount of body roll, and it's pretty uncomfortable once you're over, you know, when you're getting above 70, it's kind of scary. But yeah, it's dialed in the rocks. It does rocks awesome. The Mickey Thompson tires hooked up great. If we started to get stuck, we just gave it more gas, and it just flew.
Outer limits, a lot of good racing, a lot of cars moving through there, making really good time. Quite a bit of variety in those cars, and it's just very, very cool to see how capable they are, and watching them go through the rocky type of terrain that is. Yeah, the Everyman Challenge is several classes of cars, kind of all thrown in together in one race, and that makes it unique as well. Just seeing a large variety and large capability of the cars that they have. Up in outer limits, there got to be a pretty good traffic jam of probably 8 to 12 cars. Very little movement for quite a little bit of time, with just a few getting hung up and everybody trying to work their way through. So that set everybody back just a little bit.
Taking some bad lines, trying to get around people, broke a rear drive, smashed a rear drive shaft, had to change that out in remote pit 2. We broke a brand new winch rope, failed, trying to winch around people stuck, you know, trying to get through all the traffic jams. Had a fuel pump go bad, just out of the blue. Cruising through the rocks, car died. Pump one went bad. Just all that stuff compounded, and then on top of the traffic jams we run into, it just we timed out. We ended up on sledge. The fans shut off for no apparent reason on the engine. Engine overheated like 250 degrees, and it pushed all the coolant out of the motor, and that was pretty much the end of our day. We had some fast times on a lot of the rock obstacles. They keep track of that now, so it's like, we know we can do it. We just have to put the whole package together. And yesterday was just not our day.
Got to the mailbox and I told Steve, hey, we should jump out and take a picture because, you know, we're at the mailbox, right? And he's like, really? I'm like, no, we're going. We're out.
So we took the long route, which was nice, you know, kind of like Outer Limits. We had a chance to just take Bombshell out and just put my foot into it, test the suspension, have some fun, get some miles under my belt, some more seat time, and do it again at a, like Mitch said, a pretty good clip.
Yeah. You're just living, that could be you up there, Alan, up on that rock up there, dude.
I like that. I think that's my spot. You're right.
That could be home for you, dude.
Yeah.
Just a little bird perch.
Little bird perch, dude.
And that rock over there will be my master bath.
That'll be the master bath, yep. On the corner could be your really huge walk-in rock closet, dude. Yeah. All right?
That was it.
Just had a good feeling about the day somehow. Everybody back home has been super supportive, and you know, it just makes it what it is. The whole team came out, and everything just fell into place. It felt good. The prep's been on point. Dom and his crew did an absolutely outstanding job with the prep. The car was absolutely phenomenal.
It's an insane accomplishment. You know, it's a dedication and testament to the talent that he has. It's a challenge to yourself. It's a challenge to the car, and then obviously you have competition that you have to beat out. So, you know, he just, you know, hats off to him. He made it one heck of a race, and he landed himself right there in first.
Ladies and gentlemen, the unofficial winner of the four-wheel parts Everyman Challenge, Jeremy Jones.
We had to winch 3 times, I think, and we just got some bad holes and some bad lines. And our desert lap, I thought, was pretty solid. And then we just kind of made forward momentum, and here we are.
It's kind of now starting to set in. Yesterday after the race and stuff, it's just you're so tired and you're so, you know, from all the adrenaline and just the beating you take in the car. I mean, because literally you drive the cars to the point where it hurts. Yeah. So, and if it hurts us, I can't imagine what it feels like. I mean, if the car had you know, could feel things, I'm sure, you know, it would say this is ridiculous. But yeah.
Oh man, I couldn't do it without this guy. He's been my friend, my confidant for a long time. Emotional, sorry. No, Dan's the man. He's probably one of the better co-drivers I've ever seen. He just nails it every time. So I can't say enough good things.
All right, so let's hear for Dan, the co-dog who was getting in there all day long. So now let's talk.
First place on the see, I saw Woody Rose in the lineup too. Him coming in from the top 6. This is official. It will be the
we finished 2nd in class and 10th overall. So not too bad for our first hammers. Hopefully we get a big check in the mail or something. It doesn't have to be big, you know, but it'd be a lot cooler.
Troy Digby, again, another first-time racer, he nailed it. I mean, you've got to run that course. You've got to keep your car together all those miles. And for a first-year race, 2nd place, that's some darn good driving.
You know, I couldn't have done it without my co-driver Luke. We worked together and it worked enough. So we're happy with that. And then my buddy Garrett, my buddy Garrett Guidros with Hood Poppers from Louisiana, he came and he like worked night and day on the car.
Going through Turkey Claw, we passed about 5 cars because, you know, rock crawling's our thing. That's what we do. And you know, guys, it was funny to me because guys that were passing us in the desert and then they were getting stuck in the rocks just turtled out. And I'm like, why are you even over there, man? You shouldn't be on that rock, you know?
You know, to run a race like this with that kind of experience, you know, you got to put a lot of time, a lot of dedication, a lot of discipline into that seat time so that you can master that vehicle in a way to get it from the start of this race, to get it to the finish of that race, to cruise through, you know, these trails that we've been talking about so far, and to land himself in a 3rd place position. You know, again, hats off to Peter. You know, from me to you, buddy, congrats. That was one hell of a finish.
We cruised into the pits, and that was the end of the race. It was a good race. We had a great time. I mean, if we hadn't had a couple mechanicals, I think we would have finished top 4.
We started our morning out at the start line for the 4400 class, the big race. That is a neat experience, being able to walk through, see all the cars lining up. That in itself is pretty cool. And then they start them 2 by 2, and just seeing them rip through the infield and then head on out into the desert. That's a really neat experience as well.
So this morning on race day for the King's race, I actually planted myself just past back door on a loop out that kind of rolls up a hill, up and over, and then goes right into the Melville area. And the first couple cars coming through, nice clean runs, lots of traction, and big difference from yesterday's event where we saw quite a few rigs really struggle. These 4400 class cars the horsepower, the drive line, the tires that they're using, just pulls right through that sand, churns it right into the air as well, which was quite to our dismay, especially from my photographer's standpoint, where it was just completely washing everything out. So unfortunately, our position wasn't exactly the best for the footage that we were trying to capture, but it was still just great seeing the 4400 cars just fly through there.
So we started 15th, so a few minutes after 8 o'clock. Honestly, right off the bat, it was super dusty. The first 30 miles, the cars are still really tight packed together out in the desert, so the dust is really gnarly. We didn't have much wind yesterday morning. So it was definitely a battle right out of the gate.
Mile 80 was our second stop for the day. That's the first time I've been able to sit and watch the cars come through in a high-speed area. Generally, we're more in the rocks filming and watching them in there. Watching them in that high-speed area was extremely, it was different. It was very cool to watch. Just the speeds that they hit up through those areas, 2 or 3 cars coming up over the hill at a time, and occasionally had the opportunity to pass a car in front of them. Pretty unique and really nice to be able to see them in that high-speed environment.
Lap two was interesting. It was really smooth, but there was already, you could see the attrition rate already kicking in. There was already cars breaking down. We were having to figure out alternate lines, outside of the main lines, basically untraveled territory to get around cars. It was off to a really good start, and yeah, we're scooting, man. I mean, the goal was, again, just to not stop. Like, don't, keep moving, because as soon as you stop, that's when cars are getting by you and you start losing a lot of time.
course of our running, we actually took a trip over to Chocolate Thunder. Idle Issues was actually the spot where I was dropping off my cameraman. So I took the opportunity to kind of stand adjacent and watch some of the cars coming through, you know. Again, the 4400 cars, they're purpose built, they're built for speed on the rocks or in the desert. And, you know, I did manage to see probably a dozen cars come through. It's something to aspire to when you, like Mitch and I, do what we do for fun, you know, and we start building our rigs out. These are kind of purpose built rigs, a lot like these 4400 class cars. And, you know, they just cruise. You know, it's mind blowing to see these guys, A, sit in these cars for 8 to 10 hours, B, to see them rock racing through these obstacles where, you know, we might spend half an hour on 45 minutes on one of these short trails, and these guys are blowing through it in less than a minute. The rest of the story, if you will, for North Shore. After I did see them as they cruised over the hill from Idle Issues, they did make their way over to Jack. You know, cruising up Jack, it looked good to begin with. They were doing a great job, got themselves into a bit of a pickle. Unfortunately, course correcting, tried to go that reverse route, back out of it, put them into even more trouble. They ended up flipping and flopping. You know, they did manage to get themselves back on all four again, but that's when actually they realized that they had destroyed their radiator. So giving it the old college try, the guys shot as much as they could up to the top of Jackhammer, but unfortunately, where we do catch up with them is seeing both driver and co-driver walking back down the trail. So not exactly the happiest of endings. Unfortunately, Hammers claimed another one.
From mile marker 80, our next stop was King's Vito. That's a pretty good run on out into the desert to get to that trail. And the issue with that is you've really got to stay on top of your GPS where you're located versus where the track's located. Because where a remote pit is over there, it kind of becomes a spider web of racetrack and then also where you can go as well. But we did make our way up to King's Vito. First few cars that came through there, they made it through in pretty good order. Didn't have too many issues. King's Vito is a very short trail, not very long at all, but the boulders in there, the rock ledges that are in there are just very extreme. We eventually did have a car come up in there and brake, and unfortunately he broke in the preferred line, and that just caused a whole nother set of issues for all the other cars that came afterwards. Front and rear independent suspension on that car, and they had a rear wheel that was pointing a completely different direction than the other three.
Man, I think you guys are right, that's broken. Might be. Sorry, man. She said, I think you're right.
as we had the car sitting there, the one that was broke, couldn't be moved, Vaughn Gittin Jr. comes in the Bronco. Again, the broke cars, mostly in that preferred line. So Vaughn Gittin Jr. tried to work his way up around, and he actually ended up rolling over up against the already broken car. There again, that just jammed that spot up that much more, and that was a very lengthy recovery for them. They had winch lines going in every direction at one point to try to get him uprighted again, which eventually they did do, and he finished on out and went out the end of King's Vito and on to continue to race. While we were at King's Vito, we saw probably the top 30 of the pack come through. But after those first few made it through pretty easily, it became congested and preferred lines you couldn't get to. So there was a lot of winching. I believe we had 2 cars upside down or at least over on their sides at one time. So there was as much recovery as there was going on as there was forward movement. Unfortunately, none of those cars were any of the Mickey Thompson cars that we were waiting for and waiting to see. So afterwards, we had pretty well lost light. We decided to come back to camp.
So, you know, as the race days go, you don't always get to see the finishes that you want to. In my case, sitting up on sledge, wrapping up my day today, you know, we patiently waited for the drivers that we were really hoping to see. And the sun was going down, so were the temps. We just packed it in, we came home, a little disappointed, but we still have a little bit of time to hold out hope. So, you know, maybe by the time you folks see this, we've got a better answer on who we saw finish. We don't know. We got 2 hours. It might be miraculous, but we got 2 hours.
Yeah.
King's Vito was gnarly. So we hit that one in the dark. We went up that this year. That was a brand new trail last year. I would still consider that a brand new trail. It's still like extremely gnarly. The rocks were massive up there. I called into base and I was like, all right guys, how long did it take us to get from pit 2 on lap 2 back to the start finish line? Because I'm trying to figure out if we can make the cutoff. And they're like, it took you 50 minutes, and we had an hour at that point. So I was like, we need to get this show on the road. So we literally hopped in the car. I was on one. And of course, we still had no lights plugged in because the alternator wasn't charging enough. So I'm driving blind. Basically, GPS is off. I have no nose. We barely know where the course is. We're just ripping, dude.
I just want this dang old car to finish. Jordan's on his way in right now. He's losing an alternator. He already lost a transcooler. Now he is running with one light. They're a mile and a half out from Turkey Claw. He's got one light, 2 radiator fans, and that's the only thing plugged in. So they're just yelling at each other through their helmets, hoping that they make it.
Good luck, dude.
Thanks, bud.
We made it though, 5 minutes to spare. It was awesome, dude. It was awesome. There's no feeling like being back in Hammertown after just getting beat on all day.
I love how you just slipped that in there. Oh, the car got on fire. It's like it was Tuesday, the car's on fire. It's a normal day here at the Hammertown.
We wouldn't be here without each and every one of our partners. Obviously Jen Wright, I mean, none of this would be possible without Jen Wright. Mickey Thompson, not a single flat yesterday. There was flat tires left and right out there.
King of the Hammers here, 2023. It's kind of a bittersweet day. It's a roller coaster. You go into it with the best hopes and the highest expectations. You see some win, you see some lose, you see some walking back down the trail after they've flopped and tried to salvage. It's a special race for me. I just thoroughly enjoy it. The time with the team, the time with the racers, and you know, you hope to see some better outcomes than others next year. Not everybody's going to run across the finish line, but for those that do, hats off to you. You gave it your best, you gave it your all. For those that didn't, hopefully you guys can make it across the finish line next year.
I had the opportunity this year to venture out considerably further. I think we went out and filmed at two of the furthest points this year, and for me, that's the best part. I love getting out there, driving across the desert. The tires that I'm on, I am running the Baja Boss sticky versions. Everything out here they perform exceptionally well in. They just perform extremely well in all conditions for me. In all, it's been a great experience. Something I look forward to coming out and doing again next year. This is an event I want to make the time for and always will make the time for. As Cord said, just come out and see our extended family and people we only get to see maybe at this event. Great overall experience this year, and we'll definitely be back.
And now here goes the whole Gen Wright clan, dude. Look at this great group of people. Everybody's so supportive, man.
How'd you like chasing these boys out here this week?
Dude, I love chasing these boys around, man. I'd chase them to the end of the earth, dude. If that's what it calls for, we're gonna be out there in the elements, having a good time, chasing them down, getting the shots, busting it off, living, laughing, loving, dude. Hammers 23.